Okay, got it. One last thing, if I can have a highlighter, that will be helpful. Okay, so this is the cover of your guided notebook. On page, gosh darn it, I'm sorry. Something is not working as I intended it to. Okay, on page 1 of the guided notebook, you have your table of contents. You should have read about page 1 through 14 so far. The calendar, let me tell you something about the calendar. I initially had it uploaded to Momentum with all the tests being available Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That was my mistake. I had to go back and redo it because Rome State is on a 4-day work week this summer, and campuses are only open Monday through Thursday. So what I did, I corrected the calendar, re-uploaded it. If you printed it before Saturday, you need to print just this page again. That's the only thing I changed. If you printed it after Saturday, 1 o'clock-ish or so, then by that time it was correct. But each of the exams, I have all of your exams in red, and they're available for 4 days, with the exception, I think, of the final. I could only get 3 days for the final in there, but each unit test, which covers 2 chapters, I open it on a Wednesday, and then it's open Wednesday, Thursday, Monday, and Tuesday, so that it's available 2 days in Harriman and 2 days in Oak Ridge. I think there may be some hours at the Cumberland campus 1 day a week, but if there is, that's the only other campus where testing is available. But you'll notice I've got the calendar color coded. Like I said, all the quizzes and tests are in red. Anything about extra credit pop projects is in blue. And the rough drafts, I believe, are all due on Wednesday, and the final drafts are due on Sunday. We have 2 holidays this summer, of course, July 4th, and then June 19th has just been added as a federal holiday. So I'm not supposed to give you any assignments that are due on that day, but you can certainly work ahead on your own. Any questions about the calendar? All right, Mason, you let me know that I messed it up to begin with, and I've got that fixed now. At the bottom of the calendar, just remember that you can turn homework and practice test in up until the day the test is due, not the day it's available, but the day it's due. However, you'll get a 10% penalty if you turn it in after the due date. Now, that 10% penalty only applies to the part that's submitted late. So let's say you had an 80 by the time the assignment was due, and then you went back and finished it after the deadline. That other 20 points you got after the deadline would have a penalty of 2 points on it. So you still have a 98 instead of 100 on the assignment. So go ahead and finish it, even if it is after the deadline, because that penalty is not severe. It's just enough to make you think, oh, I need to get ahead, or at least stop being behind. You can only submit quizzes within 24 hours. You don't have as long to do quizzes as you do homework. And the reason I put these hard deadlines in here is I just find that many people wait until the deadline. If I don't set deadlines and hold to them pretty strongly, then folks allow themselves to get far behind, thinking, oh, I'll catch up when life settles down a little bit. Life never settles down. Most folks don't get caught up. So I try to make you understand the pace that you need to be in order to finish the course in July, the summer. Every test available for 4 days. Don't extend deadlines for any reason. If you miss a test, then you'll have to take the final. The final exam can either replace a missing test or a test that you scored low on. All right, page 3. This is where you can have this page open and kind of follow along with me. I'm going to hit the highlights just as quickly as I can, but there are some things that I want to show you in Momentum, some things I want to show you in My Labs, and some things that I want to show you in the guided notebook. So if you're following along, just keep an eye on this page. Let me open up Momentum and show you what I want to show you there. All right, here's Momentum. And let's see what I need to show you there. You know that to get into your assignments, you click all assignments, you'll see the date that each one is due. You can work ahead, but try not to get behind. You can also click your grade book anytime. Let me show you what that grade book's going to look like. And I'll pick, Mr. Joshua, do you mind if I put your grade book up here since you have 100 on everything so far?
No, ma'am, that's fine.
Okay, because I want to show you what the grade book looks like. Joshua's last name is Hurley. Gotcha. All right. Oh, Joshua, you have worked way ahead. You are knocking this out. All right, when anyone clicks on their grade book, of course, you can see your average at the top. And if you click calculation beside that, it'll give you your homework average, your quiz average, and your test average. Josh has only done homework so far, so he doesn't have averages on the other two. But here's where you go to review an assignment. Let's say Joshua had taken a quiz, chapter 1 quiz, and he didn't make as high as he wanted to, so he wants to take it again. If he had taken that quiz, then it would show up at the top with the word review, and he would just click review, and he'd be able to see exactly what he missed. Now, let's say he's done this homework and he made a 10 out of 10 on it. But if any of these had red X's on them, those would be the problems that he missed. And when you miss a problem, My Lab shows you the correct answer. And to see your answer, to see what you entered, you have to click on the box or hover over the box, and then it'll show you both the correct answer and your answer. But it seems like every semester I have some folks who don't realize how you review an assignment. And that's where you learn a lot, from reviewing what you missed. So I wanted to make sure that you saw that. What else in Momentum? I have my phone number and the fact that you can contact me through Remind or Zoom or RadarNet email. I think all of you already signed up for My Labs. That's good. You should have requested your calculator by now. We actually don't use the calculator on test 1. It's mostly terminology definitions, but go ahead and order it to give the library a couple weeks to get it to you. They will send it. When you click that and fill out the request form, you'll put at which campus you would like to pick up your calculator. Should be available to be sent to any of the campuses. But I want you to understand, you don't have to buy a calculator. Don't go spend $150 or something on a TI-84 when Rome State has plenty that we can loan to you. By midnight tonight, you should have done assignment 0. If you haven't, then I'll report you as non-attending, and that could cause problems with your financial aid. Like I said, I think all of you have done that already. The other thing that's due tonight is your using the tools worksheet, and not everyone has gotten that to me. Right here on the calendar today, orientation and using the tools. Nothing else there. Assignments, grade book. Ooh, these 2 links are important. Can you see where I'm circling in the My Statistics links? The technical help and the Pearson help for students. If you're having trouble with your calculator or with your computer, I probably can't help you with that. I'm not a computer expert. I'm a math expert, I suppose. I'm a statistics expert. So if you need help, if your assignments won't load, if you think something wacky has happened in your grade book, whatever, you can let me know, but I probably can't do anything about it. I'm going to say, I'm sorry, click one of the technical help links. So if you click My Lab Technical Roan State My Lab Technical Help, that will go to someone at Roan State who can help you and responds pretty quickly. You can also go to the publisher Pearson and get help, but make sure you understand it's your responsibility when something's not working with My Labs that you contact either the Roan State person or the Pearson folks and get that worked out. If your My Lab's not working, but everybody else's is, I'm not going to extend the deadline for you. I only extend deadlines if My Labs is down for at least 24 hours for everybody. There are tutors available this summer, I believe. They're probably only in Harriman and Oak Ridge. You can click here to find out their schedule. And one other very important thing to show you, this testing center locations and hours. I clicked on that. Make sure you know what you have to bring with you. You have to bring a photo ID or you will not be allowed to test. You have to show that you are who you say you are, and then you'll be able to bring a pencil and a calculator. They will provide paper for you. You don't have to bring anything but your pencil and your calculator. You have to show up at least 30 minutes before the centers close and pay close attention to which campuses are open and what time they're open. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, Roane County Testing Center was open, but it's open 9 to 5 on Thursdays and 1 to 8 on Tuesdays. Oak Ridge is open Mondays and Wednesdays. It's open 9 to 5 on Wednesdays and 1 to 8 on Mondays. And then, like I said, Cumberland County is open for about 4 hours on Wednesdays. So whenever a test is coming up, make sure you look at that schedule and plan accordingly. All right, I think that's everything I wanted to show you in Momentum. Let me just double check. I showed you the calculator. I showed you Remind. Remind is only for very short questions like, well, I can't think of a very short question, but not homework help. I'm not going to tutor you through Remind. I don't text quickly. I type quickly. So if you will email me questions about the homework, that's the best way for us to handle that. The only time I'll get on Zoom with you is when we've tried working something out via email. We've been working via email for a little while and you're still not getting it, then I'll send you an invitation to join me on Zoom. You can't just click on it 24/7 and think I'm going to be there. So first, send me an email, stick with me, work with me a little that way, and then if we still can't work it out, we will jump on Zoom. All right, some things I want to show you in My Labs. This gets rough when I have too many windows open. Dang it. I have a lot of windows open right now. And I just closed one I didn't mean to. What do I want to show you in My Labs? Of course, you already know about assignment 0. That's what I was trying to do. You already know about assignment 0. As you're working through the interactive assignments, click everything that's clickable. Click all the videos, all the applets, all the cautions. There's so much good stuff available to you to help you understand and learn how to use your calculator. This course is really almost more of a reading course than it is a math course, because the calculator is going to do all the math for us. It's going to calculate p-values and confidence intervals and do hypothesis tests. You don't know what all that means right now, but your calculator job is to know the terminology well enough so that when you read a problem, you understand what it's asking. You're able to pick out what you need to enter on the calculator. And then once the calculator does the calculations, you have to interpret your answer. Your answer might pop up on the calculator screen as parentheses 2.7, comma 0.45. And you have to know what that means in order to answer the question. But you're not really going to be doing any math. So for those of you who love algebra, this is very, very different. I'm sorry. Some folks don't like algebra or statistics as well if they're big fans of algebra, but some folks really like statistics because it's not algebra. It's all reading and understanding how to use your calculator. Let me show you a few assignments real quickly. I have in my notes, I want to show you the 3.1 interactive assignment. Mine looks a little bit different than yours does. You can't click ahead like I can. You have to complete the assignments in order. But 3.1 each interactive assignment looks like this. At the top of the page, you have tabs for an introduction and the things that you're going to learn, the objectives that you're going to learn in each section. And then you're going to start out with problems that review what you already know. And then you're going on to the introduction to the new stuff and start working through the objectives. But you can work through the pages just by clicking these circles at the bottom. I'm trying to find a video or a, oh, I know. If you are doing one of these review problems and you don't remember what, for example, on this, what qualitative and quantitative mean, then you can go back and click this link and it'll take you back to the interactive assignment that told you what quantitative and qualitative data is. When you finish everything under that preparing for 3.1 tab, then you can go on to the introduction. Here's a video that will explain the different characteristics of a data distribution. And then you work through those objectives one at a time. And again, anything that's clickable, click it. Anything that's in blue, click it, read it. If it's a video, watch it. These applets are used to illustrate certain concepts for you. So just anything at all that's in blue, click it. And when you get to some problems, like this example, let's see, find the mode. Let's say this is how to find the mean. Here's something I wanted to show you. The answer that a lot of people miss on that using the tool worksheet is number 10. It says, what video solutions might you need to watch? we're not going to use StatCrunch or Excel at all. We're not going to use these two videos. We're going to use just a very few things by hand, and you'll watch this solution. Almost everything we're going to do on the calculator. So every time you get to an example, you click on the TI-84 and the author will tell you exactly how to enter things on your calculator, how to find the mean, how to find anything that you need to find. So it's very important to watch those TI-84 videos. Every semester, I have someone email me, I've looked all over YouTube for how to calculate the mean on my calculator and I still don't understand. You shouldn't have to use YouTube at all. The videos are embedded in the interactive assignments and they'll tell you exactly how to use your calculator. Let's see, what else do I want to show you? You know that on reading assessment questions, right here, you only get one attempt on those. They're all definitions and the definitions are in your guided notebook. So just read carefully, read the question, make sure you're looking at the right thing in your notebook because you only get one attempt on those problems. I've already showed you the grade book, how to check your average, how to review assignments. Help tools are in your homework. Let's say I'm doing the 3.1 homework. Or let's say go a little bit forward, 3.4 homework, where I might actually have to calculate something. You start out with just some definitions. I want a problem where we have to calculate something. A lot of times you might have to click an icon to see some data. You have to enter that data on your calculator, and then you have to calculate something. At the bottom of your screen, you will see Get More Help, and under Get More Help, most problems you will see Help Me Solve This and View Example. Oh, no, those are out to the side now. You don't have to click Get More Help to find those. I'm really struggling with having so many windows open. Help me solve, let's say you don't have any idea how to start a problem. If you don't have any idea how to start it, you probably haven't watched the video completely and taken good notes. But if you need to see how to begin a problem, you can click View Example, and my labs will take a similar problem, really the same problem with different numbers in it, break it down step by step and show you how to do each step. If you want help with this exact problem, then you can click Help Me Solve This, and it'll break it down into baby steps for you. If you use either View Example or Help Me Solve This, then you will have to work a similar problem to get credit for it. But if you need help from me, if you've looked in the guided notebook, if you've used View Example and you've used Help Me Solve This and you're still stuck on something, please click Get More Help and Ask My Instructor. If you click that Ask My Instructor, then my labs will send me the exact problem you're working on. 20 of you might be working the same problem and all 20 of you will have different numbers. So I need to know what numbers my labs gave you. And the only way I'm going to know that is if you click Ask Instructor and send the problem to me. You also need to tell me what you've tried on the problem and specifically what's bugging you. On this problem, you might say, hey, I got the A and the B part, but I forgot, I'm having trouble finding the IQR, the interquartile range. So be very specific when you use that Ask Instructor so that I know exactly what you do know and exactly what you don't know, what you still need help with. So those are the tools that I wanted to show you. and ask instructor. Always use this when available to send me questions. All right, so do you have any questions about anything that's on Momentum or in My Labs? Miss Elizabeth, you doing good? Okay, any questions? That means I finally get to close some windows here. Only have one window open, and that will be very helpful. I want to point out some things in the guided notebook. I don't want to read the whole syllabus and navigating the course to you, but I have read some things that I think are important. And these pages in this text box are what I have in the presentation I'm showing you. And so you can follow along with that. In your syllabus, you know how to contact me. I think you're already signed up for Remind, and make sure that when you email me, you always email me from your RadarNet account to my RadarNet account. I don't use Momentum email at all, because if you send me an email from Momentum and I reply to it, my reply just circles in cyberspace for about 2 days and then sends me a message that my message was undeliverable. That's because Momentum emails a closed system. I can't answer you directly without logging into Momentum. So I don't use Momentum email at all. And because of federal privacy laws, I'm not supposed to correspond with you through your Gmail or your Hotmail or anything other than your own state account. So let's make sure we stick to that. Next thing I wanted to show you, page 6 of your guided notebook. You've already read that your homework is 15% of your grade, your quizzes and practice tests are 15% of your grade, and your 4 exams plus optional final is 70% of your grade. Oh, I just remembered something that I noticed in the orientation quiz. All of you have made 100 on it, but there was one problem in there that referred to the final, and it said the mandatory final. The final is not mandatory. I forgot to change that slide. On a regular fall and spring semester, the final's mandatory, but in the summer I can get by with making that optional. Make sure that you know the due dates on the calendar aren't when you start an assignment. It's the absolute deadline. It's not the absolute deadline, but it's the deadline by which you should have the assignment finished. So always look at the calendar. For example, I mentioned Juneteenth, which is June the 19th. You're supposed to have 3-1 and 3-2 done on the 20th. If you know you're gonna be out on the 19th and the 20th, then you need to work on the 17th and 18th. You need to have those 2 assignments done before you take that 2-day break. So always look ahead, stay ahead. If you can stay 1 day ahead all semester, you will never get behind, and you will never get a late penalty. But more importantly, you'll be on track to finish the course, where someone who gets 2 weeks behind in an 8-week class, you're just done. You can't catch up 2 weeks in an 8-week class. You have to make a 75 on each assignment before you can go on to the next assignment, because you need to understand what's in each section before you go on to the next section. I'm going to drop your 2 lowest homework grades at the end of the semester. All quizzes, you have 2 attempts to take a quiz. If you miss it, you can only take it up to 24 hours later. If it's due on Friday, then you have until midnight Saturday, but after that you have missed the quiz and you'll have a 0 on it. I will drop 1 quiz for you at the end of the semester, and I will reopen the quizzes for you to be able to go back and improve your quiz score at the end of the semester. And I say that on the calendar. You can look and see the last week it says quizzes reopened. Mastery reviews, anything that's labeled mastery reviews are optionals, not part of your grade. I will reopen quizzes the last week of the semester. All exams have to be taken on campus. You have an hour and a half to take the exams. No exam deadlines will be extended for any reason. Folks, I've had some very good excuses for missing tests. I had a guy fall down his stairs and break his collarbone and a couple of ribs the day that he was going to take the test. And what I said to him was, that's why I have an optional final. Now, in a regular semester where the final is not optional, I drop one test. For y'all, instead of dropping one test, I let you take the final to replace a missing test. But it doesn't matter how good your reason is for missing the test. That's the whole reason I give you a way of making it up. So you can send me a sad tale and I'll feel real sorry for you, but I don't want to ask folks to bring me doctor's notices or doctor's notes or funeral brochures or tow truck bills. I'm just gonna say, sorry, but you can take the final to replace that. You already know that there are 3 extra credit projects. Every semester I have someone raise their grade a letter grade by turning in those extra credit projects. All the deadlines are on the calendar. Make sure you look at those. All right. I have to pause and take a breath every few minutes and ask, do you need to ask anything about the syllabus? All right. I am long-winded and I kind of apologize for that. But then on the other hand, I feel certain that I'm giving you everything you need to succeed. I give you explicit instructions for what you need to do, and then I expect you to follow those. And I did a whole lot of typing in the guided notebook, adding cautions and more examples and steps to do things. I did all that typing so that you have the information that you need to do well. And I expect you to use that information. What else have I highlighted here? I showed you the links on Momentum for technical support. Scroll until I highlight something else. If you email me, I don't know how to do this problem, I'm just going to say, well, you need to look at your notes, find a similar example, try something and tell me what you tried. If you don't have any idea how to start a problem, then you haven't watched the video and taken good notes, because there's a problem for every problem in the homework, there's a similar one in the guided notebooks and in the interactive assignments. You have to at least try something and tell me what you do know and what you don't know so that I can help you. I shouldn't have to put more work into helping you than you put into helping yourself. This is page 10 in the guided notebook. Just again, drop grades are what I offer you instead of extending deadlines. Page 11. Homework assignments on which you have not scored 100%. When you pull up your assignment list, if you haven't made 100 on an assignment, it'll say past due warning. That's a little bit confusing because that makes you think, oh, I turned in that assignment late. That's not what past due warning means. It just means you still have time to work on this assignment some. You'll get a 10% penalty just on what you submit late, but you can keep working on it. That's not what past due warning sounds like. I wish Pearson would fix that, but don't panic when you see that past due warning. On page 12, I showed you the question help tools, view example, help me solve this, ask instructor. You have to use that Ask Instructor link to send me the problem that you're working on, and then you have to tell me what you tried. If you don't tell me what you tried, then my response is going to be, what have you tried? Be careful using view example and help me solve this. Sometimes I can tell that a student spent 3 minutes watching a 20-minute, well, there's never a 20-minute video. Sometimes there's a 10-minute video and students spent 3 seconds watching it. I can see that in my labs. And if you do that, I know you haven't watched the video. You've just used view example or help me solve this to do the homework. And you can do the homework. The problem with that is those tools aren't there when you're taking a test. And if you've relied on view example and help me solve this to make 100 on the homework, or at least a 75 on the homework, then you really don't know how to do it. You only know how to monkey see and monkey do when you have an example just like the one you're working on. You need to be very careful not to overuse those tools and get addicted to them. Yeah, they're not available on tests. On quizzes and practice test, I'm trying to get you not to use view example and help me solve this so much. So on quizzes and practice tests, I took those tools away until you submit your quiz or practice test. After you submit it and you go into gradebook and click review, then those tools are there. You can look for an example or help me solve this, but not as you're working a quiz or a practice test, because I want you to do something without those tools to get a better assessment of what you really know. Page 13, you can always review the problems that you missed by going to your grade book. You have to make a 75 on a practice test to take the test. If it's 2 hours until the testing center closes and you still have a 65 and you email me, hey, can I made a 65, can I take the test? The answer is no. You should have started working on it earlier, and you should have asked for help earlier so you could get that at least 70%, 75% in order to take the test. I'm pretty tough about that too. You can't review a test until after it's due, but if it's due, say, Thursday at 8 p.m., then at 8:01, you can go in and see what you missed on the test. That's often very helpful for you because you do have to understand each chapter before you go on to the next. You need to review what you've missed, understand what you've missed to be ready to continue. I've got you an illustration about the grade book here and a note about extra credit projects. Don't forget that they're there. All right, that's page 1 through 14 of the guided notebook. I know all of you have read that already because you've made 100 on the orientation assignment. The next thing you send me, what's due tonight at midnight, is this using the tools worksheet. And this paragraph at the bottom is very important. A lot of folks miss number 10 because they don't read what I just highlighted there and make sure they're giving me the right answer. I get a lot of wrong answers on number 10. I have folks sending this to me from their Gmail. I'm not going to take it through your Gmail. You have to send it RadarNet, and you have to send it as a PDF. If you've never used Cam Scanner, it's a wonderful tool on your phone. I use it for a lot of things now, and I've given you the exact instructions for using Cam Scanner on page 16. That'll send it right to me. And then there's the extra credit projects. I'm just going to scroll through them real quickly. I don't think I have anything else highlighted. When you get to the end of chapter 2, you'll be on page 67 of your guided notebook, and it tells you exactly what happens at the end of the chapter. There's a chapter review that you have to make 75% on to take the quiz. Then there's a quiz. And then if you don't make 100 on the quiz and you want your second attempt, you have to do the mastery review. The mastery review gives you problems similar to those that you missed on your first attempt, so you can figure out how to do those. Then you earn your second attempt. You can take a second attempt at the quiz. The mastery review doesn't count as part of your grade. It just has to be done in order to earn a second attempt on a quiz. And then this is how you get ready for a test. You take the practice test. In the summer, it's going to be hard to take the practice test a whole week before the test is due. But as early as you can get through all of the sections, start working on that practice test. After you've attempted it once, go to your grade book, review what you missed. To get a second attempt on a practice test, you again have to do a mastery review. After the mastery review, you can do the test as many more times as you want. Excuse me, the practice test as many more times as you want. Each time you take it, you need to review what you miss. Sometimes I can tell that a student is taking the practice test over and over without reviewing in between, because I can see that they submitted their second attempt at, let's say, 2 o'clock. They started their next attempt at 2:05. That means you haven't reviewed what you missed, and you're probably not going to do better unless you have reviewed what you've missed. You can do the practice test as many times as you want to, and only your highest score will count as a quiz grade. And then I have the testing policies. You will be able to take a 3x5 card with you. This class is not about memorizing a bunch of stuff. It's about understanding. So you can write on the front and the back of a 3x5 card, and I've already told the testing center that is allowed to be used during a test. What's not allowed during a test is using any type of email or messenger app. You cannot use your calculator, or excuse me, cannot use your cell phone's calculator. You have to bring a TI-84 with you. If you open anything other than MyLabs while you're taking a test, you'll have a 0 on that test, and you will not be allowed to drop it. It'll count as part of your grade. Test deadline's not extended for any reason. All right. Any other questions? All right. I'm sorry I can't make this terribly entertaining, but the last thing
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I think my video is lagging a little bit. Are we allowed to use the TI-83 calculator? Because I have one of those at home.
Yes. The only difference between an 83 and an 84, an 84 has a little bit more memory. That's not going to be a problem. You're not going to have so much stuff on yours that you're going to have a memory problem. I can think of about 2 times where the author will be showing you how to enter something on the calculator, and it may be a little bit different if you have an 83, or calculators have software updates just like computers. And if you don't have the most recent version of the operating system, you might have to enter something differently than is shown on the video. But if that happens and you email me, hey, here's a picture of my screen, it doesn't look like the screen that the author's showing, I can help you with that. You shouldn't have a problem with it, Mason.
Thank you. And
all right. Yes.
Sorry, another question.
That's okay.
Do we get to retake the homework as many times as we want, or is there like you have 2 attempts and that's it?
The homework, you can keep working on it till you get 100, but it's not like quizzes. Quizzes you have to finish and submit before you get your grade on it. And the homework, you know, when you miss a problem, and you can redo that problem right then before you go on. And if it gets past the deadline, and let's say you have an 80 and by the deadline, and you want to go back and work on those problems that you missed, you just go to Gradebook and click on the problems you missed and redo them. and you can pull that 80 up to a 98. You got a 2-point penalty for being late, but then you've got 100. And really, it's not your grade on the homework that matters as much as what you understand in the homework. 75 will allow you to go on, but if you only have a 75% understanding of 3.3, you're going to start struggle in 3.4. So go for that 100, Mason. That's a percent comprehension, and you need to have pretty close to 100% comprehension of each section before you go on.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sure you'll do well with that. All right, I wanted to show you some of the things that I added to the notebook. Lots of very important notes. If I put it in all caps, red type, you can bet it's important. We're not going to use a calculator on test 1. Before you start the material for test 2, you need to do this activity 1. Activity 1 just is how to do the basics on your calculator, like turn it off and on and delete stuff and insert stuff. Activity 1 is just the very basics of the calculator. And if you've used a TI 83 or 84 before, you'll already know how to do these things. What you may not know how to do is the stuff in activity 2. That's working with lists, how to enter a list of data on your calculator. So make sure you do the activity 1 if necessary, and definitely activity 2 before you begin chapter 3, because the author doesn't show you how to enter data on a list. It's assumed that you already know that. And that's why I inserted these 2 pages into the guided notebook. Page 81. I tell you when you don't have to worry about something. The author will go into a big explanation of how to derive some formula. You don't need to know that formula at all. There's a button, one button on your calculator that calculates standard deviation. So when I say you don't have to watch the video for the formula, just watch this TI 84 solution video to learn the button to use. That's where I get folks who say, I'm struggling with this formula. If you say, I'm struggling with this formula, I know you're not reading the guided notebook where I say, we're not going to use that formula. We're going to use this button on the calculator. I tell you, we're not ever going to use StatCrunch. You can't open it while you're taking a test. You don't have to watch any examples using StatCrunch. Just watch the video and take notes on that one. Don't worry about the StatCrunch. Page 114, I've got a very important calculator note. What I do each semester is I notice the most common questions students ask. And if I have more than 2 or 3 students ask me the same question, I add my answer to the notebook. I had lots of people say, my answer has an E in it. What does that E mean? And that's why I typed this paragraph, so that you would understand that E means your calculator is giving you the answer in scientific notation. So I'm just trying to show you how important the guided notebook is and everything that I've added to it. This is page 130 in the guided notebook. There's a very important note there. It says standard normal distribution has mean 0, standard deviation 1. If you email me and say, I don't know the mean and the standard deviation, I know you haven't read that note. That's why I put it in there. If you say, I don't understand how to use those tables, I'm going to say, we don't use those tables. We have a button on the calculator that calculates the area under a curve. So again, I'm just trying to show you that everything you need is in the guided notebook. That's not to say that you're not going to ever get confused and need to ask me something. You certainly may, but you always need to look in the guided notebook and make sure you've read it carefully, because I've typed the answer to almost any question I can anticipate a student asking. When you're in chapters that have several different competencies, chapter 7, some of the problems say determine the proportion, some of the problems say determine the probability. You need to learn the key words for each type of problem. When we get to chapter 7, I'm going to say, in chapter 7, we're only finding two things. We're determining a proportion and we're determining a probability. Make sure you know the key words for each of those. If you have a problem in the homework that says determine the proportion and you don't know which button to use on the calculator, go back to the guided notebook and look for an example that says determine the proportion. If you're doing a homework that says determine the probability and you don't know how to determine the probability, make sure you go back to your guided notebook and look for the example that says determine the probability. There's a problem in the guided notebook, just like almost every problem in the homework. I tell you when you need to just skip a video. We're not going to worry about that. I tell you when you might need to see step-by-step instructions written out for how to use something on the calculator. I have all kind of important notes I've added, like remember, you must always, always, always enter the area to the left. If you email me and you've entered the area to the right, I'm going to say, what does that note under example 4 say on page 133? Sometimes I have highlighted the key words that you should be looking for in a problem. In chapter 7, we may be looking for a percentage. We may be looking for a z-score. I want you to pay attention to the words that say find, because that tells you what button to use on the calculator. I have one button for finding percentages. I have something else for finding z-scores. For chapter 7 and chapter 8, the format of the problems is so specific that I gave you a worksheet for doing the homework. If you need help in 7.2, I'm going to say use Cam Scanner to send me a PDF of your work on number 3, and I want you to send me a picture of exactly this. I want you to be able to tell me which calculator function you used. You're going to have to learn how to draw a normal distribution. You're going to have to tell me which variables you entered on, values you entered on the calculator, and you're going to have to give me your answer. Rather than having you type all of that in an email, I've typed this worksheet for you. It will help you tremendously in doing the homework, but also it'll help you if you need help on a problem and you email me. All you have to do is send me a shot of this worksheet and I'll see exactly what you did on the problem and probably be able to find your mistake real quickly. So when I've given you worksheets, make sure you use those in the homework. Hey, we're through with this part. We're through with numbers 1, 2, and 3 of this orientation. And it's 7, so we're very close to on time. I was going to try to keep it to an hour. Can you think of anything else you need to ask me? All right, let's do this number 4 and number 5 real quick. What I promise you and what I expect of you. Number 4, I will provide you with all the resources you need to succeed and with clear instructions for what you must do to succeed. That's the main part of my job, is to make sure you have what you need to succeed. I answer emails very, very quickly, very often within 10 minutes, always within 24 hours, but especially this summer, because you're under such a time crunch, you will almost always get a response from me within an hour. And I promise you that. I will encourage you and I'll cheer for you until the end. That's my promises to you. Now, here's what I expect of you. You have to be committed, especially in the summer. You're doing in 8 weeks what folks normally have 16 weeks to do. So you have to have already made a time commitment for a chunk of your time each week this summer to spend on this course. You have to be organized. Print all the course information, print all the notebooks I've given you, hole punch them, put them in a notebook so that when I say, hey, what does it say on page 47 of the notebook? You can find page 47 real quickly. Keep the calendar in the front and keep an eye on it. Stay calm. A few late assignments aren't going to wreck your average. Those late penalties are pretty insignificant unless you start submitting all of your homework late, and then they definitely will affect you. It's not my intent really to penalize you for being late as much as to encourage you to stay caught up, because I know what happens when students get behind. You must plan to work 4 or 5 days a week on the course, 2 or 3 hours a day. Again, just when you're feeling overwhelmed, remember that you're doing in 8 weeks what folks normally have 16 weeks to do. So if it feels like double time, it is double time. You've taken an 8-week course. You must read carefully and follow instructions. You must contact me when you need help and you've tried all your other resources. When you do contact me for help, make sure you're using that Ask Instructor button to send me a link to the problem you're stuck on and ask me specific questions so that I can help you efficiently. If you want to see an email that makes a teacher curse, here it is. An email that will gain my empathy. I'll feel sorry for you, but I really can't help you if you send me an email that says, I don't know how to do this. I'm never going to reach my dreams and will probably die of anxiety. Then lots of exclamation points and emojis and question marks. There is nothing I can do with that other than go, I'm sorry. Your grammar is terrible. You need to use capitalization and punctuation, just like I said on the first page of the syllabus. Part of my job is to help you with communicating professionally. You communicate with your college professors professionally so that you can communicate with your employer and your clients someday professionally. So don't send me these misspelled words and no punctuation, no capitalization. Be grammatically correct and stay calm and tell me exactly what you do understand and exactly what you need help with. If you want to be my favorite student, and I don't know how important that is to you, but if you want me just to love you and be able to help you as efficiently as possible, send me an email that looks like this. Mrs. Miles, here's the Ask Instructor link to the problem I'm stuck on. I think it's like example 5 on page 133. That's telling me you really looked in the guided notebook. I know you've worked hard. If you can tell me what example in the book it's like. I used inverse norm on my calculator. That's important. You have to tell me which button you used. And then I entered 0.95 for the area, 72.9 for the mean, and 2.4 for the standard deviation. You're telling me what you put in the calculator so that I can just look at it and go, oh, it shouldn't be 2.4 for the standard deviation. Your problem said 1.7. It's easy for me to help if you tell me what you tried. Tell me the answer you got. If you say the answer I got is 76.85, I might say, well, hey, the direction said round to the nearest 10th, and you rounded to the nearest 100th. Would you help me understand what I did wrong? That is just an infinitely better email than this load of crap right there. So one more time, let me ask if you have any questions. Have I convinced you of the importance of printing your guided notebook? It's very, very important. Have I smiled enough to convince you that I'm a nice person and I care about your success? And you can email me anytime. You don't have to apologize. It seems like my students are the most apologetic bunch of folks I've ever seen. They apologize for asking for help at 11 o'clock on a Wednesday. It's my job to help you on 11 o'clock on a Wednesday. I'm happy to do it. I love my job. I love helping students. So if you need anything, just as long as you have watched the video, you've taken good notes, and you've looked in your notebook, tried to find the answer yourself, then I'm tickled to death to help you. All right. That is all that I needed to tell you. Thank you for joining me. It's a small crowd, about 8 of you joined, about a third of the class. Make sure that you finish assignment 0 and using the tools tonight by midnight. If I'm not awake at midnight to check your worksheet, I'll check it first thing in the morning. Make sure to give you 100 on it so that you can move on to the next assignment. And then the most important thing all summer is going to be stay ahead of the calendar. You stay ahead, you can finish. All righty. Well, like I said, appreciate you joining me, and just let me know if you need any help. All right. Okay. Y'all have a good evening. Bye-bye.